Guys, I want to talk about passport bros from my perspective because I was a passport bro um, for over 8 years, 12 years, for an extensive time because I moved to the Philippines, then moved to Spain, and then currently moving backwards and forwards from the UK to Spain because that's where my house, my kids, and my wife are. Um, the reality is, there's a lot of negativity out there saying these guys are broke, they're losers, um, they can't get a woman in their own country, blah blah blah, all this. Reality is, the marriage status in the West is not just around the paperwork. The reality is finding decent women's hard work. To the point is, it's often not even viable. Relationships break down too easily. The value that a guy will put into a relationship compared to a woman puts the guy at disadvantage, but also a lot of the women think it's their right and entitlement to destroy a guy's life, take half his pension, the house, the kids, completely wipe everything out. Because the value of marriage has shifted. Because a guy is going into a marriage for a long term. A woman's going in there because she wants the dress, my special day, all that crap. They are not committing to the same level, and the legal system is biased in the sense of historically, men have been the provider. So to remove the burden of state in the sense of the woman's probably never going to work again, didn't work in the first place, all that sort of stuff, make the guy pay. Take the burden away from the state. That's the key to this. So when women and guys are arguing about each other, they're missing the point. Firstly, a lot of the feminism and all that is done this to themselves, or a lot of women have done this to themselves. Secondly, the marriage system hasn't caught up with current life. Reality is women are earning more now. They are finding a way into better jobs, better careers, etc., etc. But the legal system is still stuck based on the last 100 years. Prior to that, it hasn't moved forward. Now I'll move forward to where we are today. So I find women in the West not feminine enough. They want to be your best mate, all that type of stuff. Pick and choose what they want. Fine. You're not attractive in that form. Guys, that is not their focus. When I look at a woman, I don't want a best mate as a woman. I've got a guy for that. Otherwise, don't then think, oh, why won't he date me? It's because your personality is not what a guy wants. Guys want feminine women. They want women to be a woman. So the point is, you go out to Philippines, Thailand, Vietnam, Africa, parts of Africa. I won't say all of Africa because I don't know it that well. But you're dealing with a lot of women that are more feminine. And on top of that, they are committing to that marriage. They're brought up in a traditional environment in many cases where it is still frowned upon for divorce. It's still saying that you go into a marriage, you look after your husband looks after everything else. That's what goes on. It's like me. I bring the money to the house. My wife takes care of everything in the house, the kids. We know our roles in society. And it's like, oh, the patriarchy, may it burn in hell. What are you talking about? It's been right for thousands of years. It's if you choose to be a single woman or whatever, that's your choice. I'm not stopping you doing it. But don't whinge about other people having a happier life. And I will say happier because you can only have so many cats. But then we get into not only the women are feminine, what they find attractive is often very different. It's a bit like guys that have an interest in bigger women. For me, I don't get it, but at the same time, I see, this thing with the booty call and all that sort of stuff. It's not for me, but at the same time, it's a different mentality, different culture, different background. So bigger women, attractive, you can see that's the other perspective on this. People find things attractive in different environments. Being with a older man in the East offers security, and it's not because the woman is so fragile and can't look after herself. Go and live in those environments. They don't have housing benefit, unemployment benefit. You don't work, you don't eat. The reality is they rely on each other. They have strong family connections. They also have a strong ethic of work, and they understand the commitment and sacrifices that a guy will make to make life better for the family unit. At the same time, their commitment to the family unit is to make sure that marriage stays strong. Because if you haven't got that, what have you got? Oh, I'm a woman in my 50s. I've decided I want a guy now. Too late. You'll be lucky. And if you do find a guy, he probably doesn't want to settle down with you. He'll still want his own house, whatever, because he's probably been burned more than once. But the reality is, if you go to Asia, you can find women from 25 upwards easily for, if you're a guy over, I don't know, 25, 30, and you're looking at settling down. Your choice of meeting people is phenomenal. And the other thing is, people approach you, they're more approachable as well. There is no weird modern feminist factor polluting connecting with people, because you go on a bus, people smile at you. They want to know where you come from. They want to engage with you. They want to, they want to be your friend, your girlfriend, whatever. The connections is much, much easier and better. Even local to local, you will find the connections between people are far, far more friendly. In the West, we are fixated on TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, how our false persona looks online. We don't engage enough with real people. And it all creates this toxic environment that is everywhere. But when you go to the East, it's diluted. Don't get me wrong. I think there's more phones in Manila than there is anywhere else on the planet as a city. The reality is they still have time for each other. They still will be together at meal times. There's still functions of family. They still have a family unit that functions. But as a guy, why would I move to Asia? Firstly, Western income, Eastern country, you're on a winner. Your spending power is probably 4 times more, if not more, in many cases. Couple that with the fact you can meet a lot of women, a lot of attractive women, find somebody that's actually committed to a marriage very easily. And from a relationship point, you'll never get it better. And I know some of the guys are saying the same about Russia and other countries. I'm talking from where I've been. The reality is, even if you go there and you rent an apartment and you're like, oh, I'm not really a person that goes out there, your landlord will turn around and say, oh, the neighbour's daughter's single. And they start introducing to people, because in the culture, there's like almost an obsession of marrying everybody off. But financially, you're better off. You look at I'll do it on America. I think the cost of housing in the last 10 years gone up, 140, 150%? Your salary's gone up by, 23%? Your car, I think the average car in America is $60,000. Yet the average car owner earns about $50,000. Why? It's all this consumerism garbage. You don't need a car that's expensive. When you go out to the East, you start seeing things from a different perspective. My personal thing, I like my motorbike. My motorbike wasn't expensive. I think it was a couple of £1,000 or whatever. But at the same time, fantastic. Loved it. Got second-hand Jeepney, which is like a World War II Jeep. Fantastic. No, it didn't have air conditioning. No, it didn't have any extras. And in fact, didn't even have proper doors. Well, it had doors, no windows. Reality is, your perspective changes. You can live on a lot less. You're less consumer biased. You also think, you know what? I'm finished for the day. I'm going to go at the pool. I'm finished for the day. Let's go out for a meal. Your time is yours, and it's much easier. You can work less and enjoy life more. Then you get into the point of when you have kids and whatever. You got so many women there. It's almost a must that you have children. And it's quite weird, some of the stuff I've seen online where people are like, oh, these poor women, they got, nothing going for them type thing, and forced to have children. No, most women I know, and I even witnessed it myself, if you get married, they want kids. They want kids. They're all in. You're the husband. You pay the bills. You put a roof over our head. You put the food on the table. I'll cook it. I'll bring up the kids. I want kids. They're all in. Now the funny thing with that is, if you're both committed to the relationship, it functions, and it functions really well because the commitment is to each other. You will make sure as a guy you're looking after your family. She will make sure everything else is taken care of. Now the other thing is, they don't like weak men. It's frowned upon. They do not like the whole Western touch with your feelings type stuff. Really frowned upon. They want a guy that can stand up for himself. They want a guy that will take on the world to make sure you're looking after the family. You're making sure the bills are paid. They want somebody, we say in Spain, which is grande cojones. It's their big balls. They want somebody who will take care of a business. So the assumption that these are weak women who can't do better, these women are selecting their partners as well. Don't assume it's all one way, and don't assume they're stupid. Don't assume they're illiterate. Don't assume they don't speak more than one language, because there is very, very few people I met in the Philippines that weren't at least speaking 2 languages. They all speak English because they're taught at school. You'll often find they'll speak Bisaya as well, because that's Valencian, not Valencia, I'm not about Spain now. It's Visayas region, but then they'll speak Tagalog because that's Luzon, which is Manila and whatever, because a lot of the exams and stuff are tied into the 2 languages. So they speak English, Tagalog, and Bisaya, and then you've got so many other dialects all over the country. So they're all going to speak at least their own dialect, English, and Tagalog. Can you say the same? Are you multilingual? They also understand the value of education. Education is paramount to their lives. They understand that the way out of poverty or staying out of poverty is built on education. It's built on being smarter, working harder, commitment. Funny enough, that's why they have so many nurses, so many doctors, so many people that work in the shipping industry, aviation industry, because they know there's not a lot of money in the country, so they work abroad. These are people that understand what hardship is. These people whinging on TikTok and whatever about these guys going east to set up in a good life with somebody that actually wants them there, not going to screw them over. Sorry, who's got it right and who's got it wrong? What, you think as a modern Western woman, independent lady, that a guy should commit to you, yet you don't want to commit to them? It doesn't even make any sense. And I think that's the biggest problem. This whole privilege nonsense has made things bad. I think the devaluation of a national identity has been eroded. I think the destruction of the family unit, the even religion. Because I'm not religious myself, but I understand living by rules. I understand having a set of standards, ethics, and having something that you bind to that is a symbol of who you are. Too many people these days don't have that. There's a mirror. Have a look. Everything can be changed. But one thing I will say, don't whinge about anybody doing better. They've gone out there, they've done it. They have moved from the west to east. It's not as easy as people think. It's not always great. A lot of the older guys often die. They lose a lot of their assets and whatever to pay for medical bills and stuff. They get wiped out. But even some of the guys I've known that have got virtually no money, they'd rather starve in Asia than go back to, America. I haven't seen anybody from the UK do it. But they would rather starve to death than go back to America. Doesn't that say enough? That they would rather go through hardship and pain because it makes them alive. It makes them an individual. It makes them feel they are worth something. Because let's face it, I mean, I've got a little troll at the minute on my TikTok who's whinging about white privilege and all the other nonsense that these people come out with. Everything I've got, I earned. Nobody gave it to me. Even now, I've done 2 training courses in the last 2 months, and I've got another 2 to do. If you look at even if you go through my LinkedIn, I think I've done over 150 training courses because I'm constantly learning. I'm working a full day and then still developing, learning new skills. And now I'm in that transition period of trying to get my own ventures going again because now we've got the house nearly done. I'm focused on the family unit. Because let's face it, I could quite happily drop to an easy job now and just float through life. But I want another 4 properties. That 4 properties will fund my kids for the future. So if I drop dead tomorrow, it's taken care of. That's commitment. That's responsibility. That's what women want. Whether people want to admit it or not, unfortunately, it's the truth. They want somebody who will take care of them. They want somebody that is there for them. They want somebody who is responsible, trustworthy, and committed to the family. Too much out there is destroying that. That's why I'm doing more of these videos lately. I know I've gone off the Philippine stuff a bit lately, but quite simply, I haven't got a lot to say at the minute, but I'm thinking of going over there later this year. I know has Jay just gone back? I think Jay's there. Jay's going, but I think he's going to be heading back to Oz again soon. But the point being is, once you've done it and experienced it, you understand it. A lot of these people out there whinging, complaining, whining, and everything's someone else's problem. Get your fat, lazy backside onto a plane and go and look for yourself. Then you understand it, because a lot of this is perspective. And now we'll get on to the income side. The fact is, these guys are independent. These guys are actually more successful because they have to adapt to the environment. They are moving out of the comfort zone of the clock in, clock out. They're in an environment where you need to earn to survive. Great place to be. When you drop into a job role, and I've had it for nearly the last 4 years, it's just steady Eddie. But the problem you get is the more you earn, the more you spend. So you start off with a cheap car and you get a Mercedes. You start off with a small house, you get a big house. The fact is you're spending it. It's not the way I work in Asia, and it's not the way I normally function. And to be fair, am I driving a Mercedes? The answer is no. But I know what happens if you stay in it. My perspective here is not to stay in the UK. My perspective is to fund Spain. As such, my car here is a little Peugeot 107. Stupidly economical, dirt cheap to buy, and anything that I save goes on my investments. That's the mentality of a lot of the guys that people are whinging about. They are focused on making sure they're sustainable for the long term. They're not short-term thinkers. They are looking at every option to keep their standard of living and quality of life in check. What's wrong with it?